Hi Blues, welcome back to BlueMoonRisingTV. It's Ask BMR TV time, where we have the sad job of looking back over the derby defeat to United yesterday. But as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved, or split into thirds in this case, because I'm so lucky to have Alex and Stephen with me today. How's it going, lads?
It's pretty hard, pretty tough Monday as they go. Not a big fan of this Monday.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak here, but just got to soldier on, I guess.
Mondays at their very best are not a good thing, but today is particularly difficult. But we're going to crack on because it's Ask BMR TV time. We've got a job to do, and that job is to answer your questions. And the first one that's come from among loads of other people is from Tom MCFC, and he asks if we would sack Pellegrini now if we had the chance. Alex, what do you reckon?
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, why would we? I mean, what can we gain from sacking a manager 8 games to go? Case in point, Aston Villa are going to sack their manager Remy Gard this week, it looks like, and they're going to replace him with someone else to build for next season, acknowledging that in 8 games you're not going to do anything. You wouldn't expect a player to bed in 8 games. What's a manager going to do between now and the summer? And also, I don't like this idea that our season is somehow gone. We're still fourth. We're ahead of West Ham. We're ahead of United. It's in our hands. We're in the quarter-final of the Champions League. We've got what I think is a winnable quarter-final. It's going to be hard, don't get me wrong, and I think PSG are going to give us a real challenge. But we could get through to the semi-final of the Champions League, and we've won a trophy. If you'd offered me at the start of this season the League Cup winners, semi-final of the Champions League, and a top 4, I probably would have taken it. We should have achieved so much more, and our form has been woeful. And don't get me wrong, questions have got to be asked, and I'm not at all happy with Pellegrini. But sacking him now, no, thank you.
Stephen?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't do it either. But you do have to think about the other side of the coin, and the idea that us not being in the top 4 at the end of the season, in my opinion, is catastrophic. I mean, we've got probably 3 years of Pep, and to waste one of them not in the Champions League, that would not be good for the club. And at some point, you have to kind of think, well, how far are we going to slide? I mean, I agree with Alex. If we end up in the top 4, get far in the Champions League and so on, that's great. But that hasn't happened yet, you know. And that's just a guess. It could go that way. It might not go that way. But there will be sat there this morning thinking, do we need, even if it's just temporary, some kind of a change of scenery, a positive boost from somewhere? It might not come, and it probably shouldn't come, because I think we probably will just about scrape through, but you do have to look at the bigger picture and think that's a pretty terrible scenario if it does happen. So
we're having to readjust. Go for it, Alex.
If the only point is a change of scenery, who are we going to bring in 8 games? It's going to be someone who's in the backroom staff that won't change anything massively to Pellegrini. I don't think any top Champions League manager would come in for 8 games at this point in the season over the international break. Who's available? Nigel Pearson. Not really sure he's the man for the job.
Yeah, you know what? I think from a PR perspective as well, City really want to be careful. We've had some pretty much disasters really from a PR perspective of bringing in managers, and I think they do not want a repeat of the Mancini scenario. And they're getting enough stick as it is for sacking a manager halfway through the season, which isn't actually what happened.
No, I agree.
So I think, regardless of what we think should happen, I don't think it's going to happen. Okay guys, the next question comes from the Mighty Eye with a question almost as epic as his username on Twitter. He asks, how much of a mistake was it to let Jason Denayer go at the start of the season? Stephen, I think you're just the man to ask this question to.
Yeah, well, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows I'm a massive advocate of the current academy setup that we have at the moment. And Jason Denayer is a fantastic prospect. I felt at the end of the season that last year that we should have given, Demichelis a pat on the back, said thank you, and then shipped him off somewhere. Because at that age, and he was about to turn 35 this season, you have to kind of project how it's going to go. And the idea of a 34-year-old sat on the bench every week and then expected to jump in and be as fresh as a daisy it's a little bit naive, in my opinion. At one point, you have to just kind of think, well, right, should we cut our losses now, then promote the young player who's just won Scottish Player of the Season? I was all for the idea of Denayer being brought in. I still stand to that this day, and I honestly, hand on heart, believed if he was playing yesterday, it would have been a entirely different situation, because he's an incredibly exciting young prospect.
It's funny, isn't it? We had the answer to all our problems right under our noses with Jason Denayer. Alex, what do you think? Demichelis, I don't think there's anybody left thinking that he can play another game for City.
Yeah, it's time for Demichelis, isn't it? I think he came and he struggled, and then he won all of our hearts. And with every game he plays, and I think if he does play again, it's becoming more and more tiresome. What I didn't understand about Denayer yesterday was Pellegrini coming out and saying he was nervous. Well, we know that he's not got all the technical ability in the world. We know that he's not got the pace. He's there because he's got 35 years of experience playing for Atletico and Bayern. If he's not bringing experience and a sure head to the team, what is he bringing? And with Jason Denayer, it's a really interesting one. I think I'm a big fan of Jason Denayer from the little glimpses that I've seen. Obviously, he did a massive job for Celtic last year. And from what I can see, he's doing a great job in Turkey this year. And I think I feel awkward arguing with Stephen on this one because, of course, Stephen is the man when it comes to youth football. But it looks to me like he's getting good level of experience at a big continental side that play in big European games, are expected to win every game in a tough league. And Turkish football is tough, and it's probably, in terms of a little bit more physical than the Premier League. He's going to come into the team next year and not just be there as a backup, but be able to compete for a place and start challenging a company that's getting on a bit and start challenging an Otamendi. And that's actually someone that I think is really, really exciting. And maybe we can look at Denayer, and I think he probably thinks it's time as well. I might be wrong on this one, but I think Denayer has got family in America, so it would be ideal for him to go to New York, and that'll be fine. I'm not sure that Mangala's enjoying his football here as much as he hoped, and I think the City fans aren't necessarily enjoying Mangala as much as we'd hoped. So we can maybe cut our losses, go out, get a Laporte or a Stones or whoever, and your 4 centre-halves next season: Company, Otamendi, Denayer, Stones. I like the sound of that to me.
I mean, I would counter that personally by saying it's all very well and get experience in Turkey, but that means he's going to another season without having experience in England. Here we've got a young player with loads of ability. We should have moved Dembele on his age. You've got an injury-prone Vincent Kompany. You've got a Mangala who came off a pretty average season, and you've got Otamendi who was a new signing. So there was going to be plenty of chances for him one way or another, and he's capable of playing a right-back. So you had Zabaleta injured and Sanya playing God knows how many games in a row because of that. So the idea of having a fresh young player full of pace, skill, intelligence, who's brought up playing the City way in the academy, to be around the team, integrating this year and take the full effect of the Pep effect, so to speak, next season, makes a lot of sense to me. I feel he's done okay in Turkey, but he's learning very little, in my opinion, in a league nothing like the Premiership. So I personally feel quite strongly about that one.
All right, I'll give you that.
In any case, I think we're going to see Pep Guardiola bring Jason Denayer into the fold, which is what all of us want to see next season, and hopefully do magical things with him. On to the next question. The last question is one that's getting a lot of City fans hot around the collar, because it's something that Alan Shearer brought up on Match of the Day, actually. He raised the question that if we do not get top 4, could there be a clause in Guardiola's contract so he doesn't have to come? And this was also raised by Towley on Twitter. Alex, is it possible? Are we going to be made to look like fools if Pellegrini doesn't get top 4?
All right, so that's 2 different questions. Is it possible? I think, yeah, definitely. It's exactly the sort of thing that players and managers love now. There's all sorts of terms and conditions and T's and C's onto every contract now. And as Stephen mentioned earlier, Pep, even though I keep saying we don't know how long Pep will stay, everyone assumes Pep will only be here for 3 years. He's managed 2 clubs, and one of them he was at for 14 years. There's no guarantee. I think Pep stays until the job is done. But he doesn't want to faff around in the Europa League. He only plays with the best, and he wants the best tools, and he's playing from the best competitions. And I could see that being a thing. Will it happen? I still think we will finish 4th, and I'm not too worried about that. I think that you look at the games, we've got to go to Bournemouth away, and Bournemouth haven't really got anything to play for. We've got Stoke at home, and traditionally we spank Stoke at home. We've got West Brom at home. We've got a relegation threat in Newcastle away. I think those games will pull us through. You've got to remember that United are like a spider. They're more scared of you than you are of them. And United's form, don't be put off by yesterday. United's form was dreadful this season, and they're as much likely to mess it up as we are. And of course, West Ham have still got some big games to play. So I think we will finish 4th. I don't think we need to worry too much about it. I'm sure there are clauses in the contract, and it would be the worst thing that's ever happened if we lost Pep because we didn't get into the Europa League. It'd be humiliating, and we'd all have to bury our heads in the sand.
Say it ain't so, Stephen.
I don't think actually that will exist, if I'm being totally honest. You have to kind of go back and realise how close these Cheeky in particular is to Pep Guardiola. And the idea that this going going horrifically wrong for the club in that way in a PR terms, I think they'll kind of project for that and plan for that eventuality. It did happen because it was no means guaranteed that we were going to finish top four, because no one's that naive to presume that that could not possibly happen. I think he'll be fine. I think they've signed a contract, they've announced it publicly. I don't see it likely that this stipulation will exist. I can see why people would say it, but I also think Guardiola is also wary of his reputation as well, in terms of looking like a little bit of a turncoat or whatever, or people questioning him. And there's a big PR thing about it for both Guardiola and City. I don't think that will exist personally.
It would be the most typical City thing to have happened of all time, right? If this does happen. I'm with Stephen. I don't think that City, even being Manchester City, would be capable of announcing a manager unless it was 100% certain. So I'm hopeful, but I'm praying as well that it's not the case, because it would be an absolute disaster for Manchester City. All right, guys, there's so many more questions we could have spoken about today, but they're the 3 that we chose. Thanks for watching. Drop a like on the video. Give us a comment. What do you want us to talk about? Maybe we can do something around the international break that's coming up. Is the international break coming at a really good time for City? Let us know. Would you get rid of Pellegrini right now? Would you be so brutal? Let us know. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we will see you soon.